It is kind of a messed up day here in Cleveland. Well, we don't know if it's going to rain or not. So it's supposed to rain. The Cleveland Guardians are playing tonight, but it is supposed to rain. So we don't know what's up with that. There'll probably be a rain delay a little bit at about 11 o'clock. Not 11 o'clock, about 8 o'clock. So we'll be keeping you going with score updates that get started in about 10 minutes or so. So we are here today with Mr. Marshawn Powers. Marshawn, what's up with you, sir?
Not much, not much. What's going on, Rachel?
How you doing, Marshawn? I'm sorry.
I said I'm good. I said nothing much. How about you?
Marshawn, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can? Okay. All right. We're going to get that fixed. Well, in a minute, we about to start talking about some Cleveland Browns football. Not yesterday, but on Thursday, the Cleveland Browns had a chance to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was a huge game. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting Marshawn's thoughts about the game. We're going to get his thoughts about Jacoby Brissett, how the offense, how the defense looked. We're going to talk some Guardians. We're going to talk some Ohio State, and we're going to talk a little bit of Cavs too. So I want to mention that the Cavs are, officially in the preseason mode. So they started their first official practice today. Yesterday was media day. First official practice today, and October 5th, they traveled to Philadelphia to take on the 76ers in their first preseason basketball game. So a lot going on. All sports are kind of, converging on once. And October is that magical month where all sports go on at the same time because you'll be in baseball playoffs, you'll be in football, and basketball will be starting. So that's one of the more exciting things. So can't wait for that. So I'm super excited. So Marshawn, can you tell me what were your thoughts about the Cleveland Browns game?
It's the same to me as every week. I just expect to win. I expect, you know, I expect a good run game, and I expect Jacoby to be who I thought he was going to be when the day that they signed him. A lot of people kind of thought that Jacoby would just be this bum of a quarterback, this quarterback that never would be able to hold his own, and so far he's proved them wrong. So far, he's done the exact same thing that he did 3 years ago while being the backup quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, and we're talking about a team who didn't have
So
nearly half as the talent as the Cleveland Browns. So,
thanks.
I mean,
Don't tell nobody about that.
Jacoby. I mean, people who said what they wanted. I'm not gonna name any names. I think that's kind of childish at this point because they've jumped on a Jacoby bandwagon, and I'm happy about that. I mean, you had people out there who, it went from Jacoby's not better than Baker. We proved that wrong. Then it went to let's go get Jimmy G instead of Jacoby because he's better. We proved that wrong. Now, because these talking heads have nothing else to do with their life, it's if Jacoby keeps playing the way that he continues to play, should he keep playing instead of Deshaun Watson? And I think that's probably one of the most. I was about to say a different word, but I caught myself. But I think that's probably one of the most ludicrous takes that you can ever that can even ever come out of somebody's mouth. I mean, yeah, the team is looking great, but you know, at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson can take this team to a whole nother level that Jacoby can't. Right now, we're seeing, in my opinion, we're on like page one of what this Browns offense can be. We haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of the offense yet because I mean we haven't even gotten when I say we haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes, we haven't even got to the part where we kind of look like the Philadelphia Eagles or the Buffalo Bills to where we
Shout out to Jalen Hurts. That is my fantasy quarterback.
yeah, he's okay. But we haven't even gotten to the part where this team looks explosive. Like we're good now, but once we get back to Deshaun Watson, that's the point where I believe we'll look explosive. So I think offensively we're fine. I think as long as we stay healthy, we'll be fine offensively. Defensively, I mean it's to be determined. We lost one of the defensive captains to a leg injury against the Steelers. Miles gets into a car accident yesterday. Um, JOK has a groin injury, so it's to be determined about the defense. The play has been up and down. 1 week, 2 weeks in a row, you look like you couldn't stop a nosebleed. That comes through the air. And last week, you're okay. So defensively and special teams is kind of still up in the air. I hate the fact, and I said it. I said it before. I hate the fact how the team. How can I say this? I hate the fact how the team kind of threw K York out there, like overexposed K York. Now he's missing these kicks, and the eyes are on him. It's like this guy's not supposed to. He's not human. Like he doesn't miss. So I think that now K York has finally came down to earth. He misses kicks. He's not perfect, and he's going to get better. So I think the team has a lot to grow. But with that being said, now here comes the cocky side of me. Two, three. 3 or 4 of these next teams that we play have had some sort of significant injury, just like us. But unfortunately, their injury is a little bit more significant. You got the Falcons; they don't really have an injury. You got the Chargers. After that, the quarterback is hurt. They just lost their left tackle. Their center is hurt, and their best corner is not healing right from an ankle injury. And Joey Bosa's hurt. After that, we have the New England Patriots, who, by the
Well,
way,
Justin Herbert too. Don't forget about his
I
ribs.
said their quarterback. I said their quarterback.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Then the week after that, you got the Patriots, who, by the way, just lost their quarterback to a high ankle sprain. So we either gonna get Cleveland owns and one of the one of the best quarterbacks that ever came through Berea, Ohio, Brian Hoyer, or we gonna get Bailey Zapp. Never heard of it. Well, I have heard of him in college. He broke like the record for most passing yards thrown. Like the dude has an arm. But with that being said, I expect that's a winnable game. So we're at 2-1 right now, and you got 3 winnable games ahead of us. So that puts us at 5-1, right on the trajectory that I said. If we hand the team back to Deshaun Watson with around 6 or 7 wins, we're a playoff team, and you can even go as far as saying we even possibly could win the AFC North. So I think should be 3-0. I would love to be 3-0, but sometimes you can't always have what you want. But I'm content where the team is right now. There's always room for improvement, but I'm content with what I seen. We beat Pittsburgh. I called that last week the funeral. I had about 6 of my friends as pallbearers, and we finally put away the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers are going to be much of a threat anymore. The Steelers were once a team that I looked at as a feared team. They're just a regular team now. So
Well, yeah, I mean, absence of quarterback play, having one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, definitely helped their team. But one of the things about this offense is they're averaging 28 points, where we went through a stretch of games last season in which we didn't average more than 17 points. So averaging 28 points and up should be able to win you games.
this is what
You,
happens. This is what happens when you have. I'm not even going to say great quarterback play. I'm going to say competent quarterback play. I don't know. I don't know if you pay attention to statistics or not like that, but you know who has the worst QBR in all of football? And
Baker Mayfield.
you know what number he's at?
Baker Mayfield.
Do you know what number he's at?
60 something or 50 something.
33rd.
Oh, really?
How many starting quarterbacks are there in the NFL?
32, right?
He's 33rd. He's not even good enough to be a starter.
Right. So who's the starter in front of the non-starter that's in front of him?
Both of Dallas's quarterback.
Oh, okay.
Super rushing that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's something. So so now
I
it
walk
looks
around with my chest poked out when I see that. I can't lie. I
Uh,
listen. Hey, they say never pray on another man's downfall, but I can't lie, Rachel. Whenever I see the downfall of Baker Mayfield, I love it. I love
um,
it.
did you get a chance to see the video that somebody is it DJ Moore, they wide receiver
Yes,
down?
my
Did,
fellow Maryland Terrapin, and listen,
did you see the video that somebody put up of him missing him all the whole time, like the OBJ video? They was
Rachel,
like DJ Moore's father got to work. There's a video up. I should have sent it to you on
I
Twitter
seen it.
of
I
him.
seen
Oh,
it.
you did? Okay.
Hey, what's understood don't need to be explained, man. We know. It's this lady I follow on Twitter, one of the Panthers beat writers. Her name is Sheena Quick. I don't know if you know who that is.
I know Vashti.
Okay, no, Sheena is she's a lady that covers it. And she used to run track and stuff. I like her work, but they you know who had the best offensive line as a unit over the weekend?
No, who?
The Carolina Panthers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
And Baker still couldn't do anything with
guess what
that.
she called them?
What?
Happy feet.
Okay.
That's what we've been calling them for what 5 years, 4 years now.
Yeah.
So now people seeing what we're seeing. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I love it. And I love it.
I mean, those tendencies don't tend to die. I mean, during the game, I got a chance to see just a little bit of him in preseason, some clips. And I'm like, that looks like Baker Mayfield in the Cleveland Browns uniform. And it doesn't look like he'll have any success in Carolina either. They are 1-2. And I hope that franchise isn't banking their hopes on Baker Mayfield because he's not the future and he's not going to get it done for them. Just like, he has a repaired arm and everything. So right now, his injury is all healed up and, he just flat out looks terrible. I watched that whole video with him and DJ Moore and, it looks like the same old, just terrible balls thrown, balls where, they're being covered and really have no chance to catch the ball, balls that are low, all that stuff that Baker was doing, is the same Baker in Carolina. So I wouldn't say, like you said, you don't pray for another man's downfall. I honestly didn't care when he went to Carolina. I really didn't care at all. So I'm just like, whatever. So
Yeah.
now that Baker's gone, it's just like, okay, he's gone. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't see Carolina being able to do anything in that division. But they did beat the Saints, so I'm kind of surprised by that. Were you surprised that they beat the Saints on Sunday?
A little, but not really, because Jameis was hurt. Their line is pretty messed up.
Already?
Yeah, Jameis got a back injury.
That was quick.
Exactly. So, the healthiest team typically always wins. So that's why I'm hoping that the Cleveland Browns can stay healthy. We got 8 more weeks. I got a
Yeah.
calendar. I change my fantasy football team every week.
You
So,
do?
yeah, it's 8 more weeks to Deshaun Watson. 7 more weeks to Deshaun Watson. We're doing
So you already picked him to be your quarterback in fantasy?
No, listen, we not well. No, none of my fantasy teams listening, but no, no. I'm trying to get somebody to bite the bait and get rid of my backup quarterbacks because I don't want to release them. I got Kirk Cousins, so I'm trying to get somebody to bite the bait and take Kirk off my hands in all of my leagues. That way, I can go ahead and just swipe for someone.
Man, I haven't even looked at my fantasy. I let the computer pick the players for me. I'm 2-1, but I haven't adjusted any of my lineups or anything like that going into any of these
Hey,
games
you should don't ever tell nobody that really play fantasy that.
because I don't wake up in time to do it. I sleep in on Sundays until like 1 o'clock, so I don't wake up in time to
You
adjust my
know, just do it
roster.
Friday.
Huh?
If you do it Friday, you'll be fine. You ain't gotta wait till Sunday to do it. Just do your lineup Friday. If somebody is out and you find out about it, then that's fine. If not, then you just take that zero.
I wasn't going to do fantasy at all. Last year was my first time doing fantasy, and I did pretty good. If there was a playoffs, I would have made it to the playoffs. So I'm pretty proud of myself for how well
I
I
ain't playing
did for
my
my
league,
first
so
time
you'll
playing.
be an easy win, Rachel.
Huh?
You'll be an easy win in my league.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
everybody know that you don't change your lineup. You don't check the waivers. You'll be a guaranteed win for everybody.
But man, I be getting the points though. I'll be winning. So like last year, I did really well. Like I went like 6 games before I finally lost one, and I only lost like two, so I did really well. But Jalen Hurts have been getting me a lot of points because that's my quarterback.
Was
So
that the only person you picked, or you just
I didn't
ran
pick any of them. I let the computer pick for me. So I know,
Cardinal sin, Rachel?
huh?
That's a cardinal sin.
Man, I don't care. We ain't playing for money either. So we just playing for fun. So if money was on the line, I'd probably be a little bit more into it, but I'm just doing it to do it because my friend asked me. Well, Marshawn, we're gonna take our first break. We're gonna be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and you're listening to Her in the Huddle. And also keep in mind that you can keep it locked right here on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. You can also listen to us on the internet at WOVU.org. You can download that WOVU app and listen to your favorite personalities on the go. And you can always call the station at 216-271-0959. And this is your girl, Rachel Hill, and I am here with Marshawn Powers, and we are discussing the Cleveland Browns. They got a huge win over their rival Pittsburgh Steelers, and Marshawn said he doesn't think that Pittsburgh is going to be a problem for the Cleveland Browns anymore. Marshawn, are you just saying that for this season, or
Period. Period.
seasons going forward?
The quarterbacks are terrible. The quarterbacks are terrible. I have.
What about Kenny Pickett?
He's terrible.
So you don't think that they can have any success with him?
I know.
I think that
I was hoping
they're
that
drawn to him because he went to Pittsburgh.
I was hoping that we saw him instead of Mitchell Trubisky
Hmm.
last Thursday, because we would have probably won by 30.
Yeah, Mitchell was making a lot of throws though.
Exactly. I mean, he wasn't making all the throws, which is why he's a backup quarterback, all in all. But um, no, Mitchell would look better than what Kenny Pickett would have looked at. I call him Kenny Small Hands because he got small hands, but you know, no, I think Kenny Pickett would have at least threw 2 interceptions minimum in that game. He would have had us believing that the secondary was back. So,
So I think this year coming up is a quarterback rich draft. Is that correct?
Top heavy. You got 3 to 4 that's ready. Yes, I can say that.
So will Pittsburgh be selecting another quarterback,
Um,
or are they going to deal with
no,
mediocrity?
probably not. They probably go for like. Well, it depends on where they pick at. They probably go for them. They're a defensive first team, just like Baltimore. So they'll probably go for like a defender, cornerback, or offensive lineman, or even a linebacker, or yeah, or even a linebacker. I don't see them. I think the next time, I think they'll give Kenny Pickett at least a year or two to actually be the leader of the squad before saying giving up on him and trying to go for another quarterback because they ultimately picked him in the first round. So
Hmm.
you got to at least give him a chance.
I think that they should ride with Mitch a little bit longer and see what he can do. He
It's not
made,
Mitch's fault.
huh?
It's not Mitch's fault.
Yeah, I mean, he made a lot of the throws. It's just Pittsburgh just wasn't good enough in that game, and for once our defense finally clamped down and was able to play better defense. They actually communicated and did the things that they're supposed to do to set themselves up for situations to be successful.
Right.
And one of the things is our running game has proven that we already know that it's one of the best in the league. But when you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going 1 for 2, they're gashing defenses. So the ability to put points up was because that defense was tired, and we did everything we needed to do. And Jacoby Brissett is making the throws that he needs to make as well. So you have a lot of good things going in that offense. You have that offense clicking, and Jacoby Brissett looks good. And you alluded to in the beginning of the show talking about people are saying that there might be a quandary, but why wouldn't you start Deshaun Watson? He is your number one quarterback. You pay him $230 million. Yes, the first couple series there might be a little bit of rust, but it's going to dissipate and disappear fast. He worked with this team before the suspension. He built timing and rhythms and things like that. So I have no concerns about his ability to be successful. But hats off to Jacoby Brissett because like I admitted yesterday on the show, I had dogged him and said he was terrible. Not really watching him that much, because while his teams were playing in the past, I'm looking at my Cleveland Browns. So I really wasn't watching Jacoby Brissett, but now, I've had the chance to see him. He's our quarterback. He has a good command of the offense. He's making, better throws, even better. Some of those throws that he hit David and Njoku on were, perfect. That touchdown pass, sliced down. So I think it's a huge improvement from the first game this season, the second game of this season, and the third game of this season. So you're seeing him, be more comfortable. You see him in rhythm. You see him be able to work with our receivers a lot better than you saw in the first game. So you're seeing a lot of good things out of him, and I'm pleasantly surprised. We're not winning the Super Bowl with Jacoby Brissett, but I think that we possibly could, even though we have a gauntlet coming up. I think we possibly could have a winning record by the time Deshaun Watson comes back.
No, I think we can too. I've been saying for the longest, as long as we get 6 wins, we'll be fine. We if we give Deshaun 6 wins, we're giving him a winning. A honest chance at going for the division because by then he'll at least play one team in the division once. We'll have the Washington Commanders. We'll have his old team, which I feel like will be. I don't like to run with the narrative revenge game, but I think Deshaun Watson playing the team that kind of threw him under the bus, if you want to agree or not, and all. His first game, you can't tell me that there's going to be some motivation there. There's going to be some silent motivation there. Unlike Baker Mayfield, he's not going to be in the media selling T-shirts and stuff behind it. He's building that motivation now while he's serving this 11-week suspension. So he's. I think we'll be fine as long as we get 6 wins. But I would really like us to be 7-4. 7-4 makes it easier for it doesn't put as much pressure on Deshaun to try to be perfect when he comes back. We can go 3-3. We can go 500 with Deshaun and still be good enough to make the playoffs. So
I don't even know if Deshaun gonna have any rust when he come back in that game because I think he gonna be so amped and motivated to play. That first touch, that first pass. He might go deep to Amari Cooper or DPJ or something like that.
And you got to remember them. They threw, even though it wasn't a lot, they threw him in the preseason. So it kind of, it's kind of like, you know, testing a pool. If it makes sense, before you jump, you don't just jump in the pool first. You got to make sure if it's warm or hot. I mean, if it's warm or cold. So I feel like that little preseason game was just him getting back in the pool, getting back in the rhythm of things. Getting back a feel of what it's like to the speed of football. All right, I got what that feels like. I can go back on ice for 11 weeks. He comes back to practice is it next week?
No, he ain't allowed back.
Yeah, he is. I mean, not to practice, but he's allowed back to the facility, I believe, next week.
Okay.
It's either I believe it's either next week or it's the 14th. It's either the 4th or the 14th. I believe that he's allowed back in the facility. So to get him back in the facility, back around, you know, um, his teammates, that's going to be big. That's a morale booster, especially when, you lose Anthony Walker. That's a morale booster for the team. So,
Yeah, I think so too. So you're right. He's eligible to return October 10th as he serves his 11 game
yeah. So,
suspension. So he's allowed. So my bad, you were right on that.
so after next game, so after the Atlanta game, he can come back to the building.
Yep. And be around the team. And I think that's a great thing. Obviously he can't practice, but I think that he's huh?
I mean, I think, yeah, he can't practice, but yeah, to have him there, to be able to attend meetings, to be able to be
Right.
around the team, that's a bigger thing, because it's like
hmm
we couldn't talk to you now. You know, he sees the game a different way than Jacoby does. So after a game, maybe after the Atlanta game, hey Jacoby, this is what I've been noticing. Why don't you try to do that? It's not trying to coach him up, but it's like kind of looking out. You know,
hmm
so
Right.
I
Right.
like.
Cause he taking notes, he watching film and all that other stuff. So he gonna be ready to go when it's time to go against the Houston Texans. So I don't think he's gonna miss a beat. So I think he'll be fine. But yeah. So Miles Garrett, still no word out about what injuries Miles Garrett might have suffered. They said he suffered minor injuries, but there's still no information about the injuries that he has, and hopefully his passenger is okay as well. But it could be probable that he is not playing on Sunday. How problematic is that for the Cleveland Browns?
Um, no, it's going to really see what the depth of the defensive line. It's really going to see, who's that next player. Who's going to step up behind him. That's all it really to me. That's what it says. Who's going? I mean, going into that game, you don't think that we have a standing chance on the pass rush. But now it's like, all right, who's going to step up? Because in those games, typically somebody that you don't think will step up will typically will. And I mean, we got three guys that I feel like can step up. So,
Well, it's going to be Isaiah Thomas, who is second on the depth chart.
yeah,
So
either
that's
him, they say the guy Alex Wright, they say he's been holding down the corner as well. And then the guy who I like his personality. I've interacted with him on Twitter a little bit, and that's Isaac Rochelle, the guy who,
yeah.
yeah, I think Isaac Rochelle is going to become a Cleveland favorite.
Yeah, because he's very into Cleveland. I'll be
Yeah,
seeing his posts and stuff like that.
yeah,
Hey, what's your favorite, X, Y, and Z and stuff like that.
yeah.
I need help with this. So I think that's kind of cool. Chase Winovich is out. So yeah, you got a couple different options. And then Jadavian Clowney is questionable as well with his
Didn't he
ankle
practice
sprain.
today?
So huh?
Didn't he practice today?
I don't know.
I believe he practiced today. So I mean, I feel like if Miles is not out there, if we could just get the presence of Jadavion, just go out there and be a body. Be a cone. Scare somebody. I would just want him to be if even if you don't play 100% of the snaps, you going to go for 30, you going for 40, 50% of the snaps. But if Jadavion if Jadavion can give me something, I need him out there.
Okay, I'm going to check to see if he practiced today. We're going to go ahead and take another break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here with Mr. Marshawn Powers, and we were talking some Cleveland Browns and a huge victory that they had over their dreaded division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Marshawn is saying that there are going to be plenty more wins to come in the future against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that'd be a great thing considering what our record is against them. It is plenty terrible. And Ben Roethlisberger owned us for the majority of his career. So that'd be great if they were able to tie the series up. But I'm not sure how much I trust you on that. I would love to, but I'm not sure how much I trust you on that one. That the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't going to be giving us any problems in the near future. So, but I love that we won the game, which was huge and important. And right now we are sitting at 2-1. I wasn't able to see anything about Jadavian returning back to practice today while we were on break. So I don't know. The jury's still out on that, but he's listed on the depth chart for ESPN for Sunday as questionable.
Okay.
So I don't know, but one of the things that you had mentioned was about special teams, and you mentioned about Kate York. So fortunately, we didn't have a special teams mishap in this game. It could have been a possibility with the onside kick. Before the Browns knocked it out of bounds, it looked like that Pittsburgh was going to recover it and actually have a shot to win the game. So um, kudos to special teams for stepping up and being able to knock that ball out of bounds. So Pittsburgh did not have that opportunity to win the game. But also, you talked about Kate York being human and not superhuman like people were saying he was, that he has the ability to hit 70-yard field goals. He has missed some uh, after the touchdown extra point attempts. So how much do you think? And I mean, in the Jets game, that proved to be fatal. Unfortunately, it didn't hinder us at Pittsburgh, against Pittsburgh, but it could have. Had the Browns not been able to, get that ball out of bounds during the onside play. But one of the things I talked about extensively during the off season was how important special teams are going to be. So K York can't be out there mixing extra points like that, because some of these games are going to get closer as we get against the better teams, and we're going to need every point that we can possibly get. So he can't be doing that.
No, I agree. I agree. But at the same time, we can't be out here anointing kids too early. They was anointing this kid before his time instead of giving him time. And you know, that's what
Yeah,
happens when you don't give a kid time. Give him time.
yeah, because
They was calling
actually,
this kid Phil Dawson. They was calling this kid. They was saying he was better than Justin Tucker. Just give him time.
yeah, I mean, I think, obviously with the way and the fashion that we won against the Carolina Panthers, that made a lot of people very excited about him and his future. But like you said, I do agree, he's came back to earth. That one kick that went off the upright, you just heard the dunk to it. I hadn't even realized he had missed a kick against the Jets. I was at the game in the stands on, that Sunday,
Mm.
and I saw a ton of K York jerseys or whatever. So people went out and bought that jersey. But when these games are getting tighter throughout the season, it's going to be important that he plays his role as well, and he's going to be able to, because he said in that kick against in the kick against the Carolina Panthers, he said he knew which direction the wind was blowing and he adjusted his kicks. So, it was kind of windy and cold on Thursday. So I don't know if he was doing the same thing that he did in Carolina and was adjusting his kicks. I don't know, especially when it comes with a miss like that. So something is going on right there. And hopefully that's something that Alex Prefer can work on with him and making sure that, he gets the gimme and also the big ones too, because his role is going to prove vital as we get into these later games against the better teams. If they can get him in position to make some kicks that are going to be longer, it's going to be important that he's able to make those kicks and also the gimmies right after touchdowns. So that's going to be important too. So let's go ahead and move on really quickly. Hey, you got a not a championship winning baseball team, but the American League Central champs playing at Progressive Field right now. I got to get a score update. But Marshawn, what are your thoughts about the American League champions?
Told
Not the
y'all,
American League champions, but the American League
told
Central
y'all, as soon
division.
as we change our name, all of those curses was gonna be lifted.
And right now
Indians
there
have,
is no
the Native
score.
Indians have forgiven us. We're the guardians now. So all of those bad jujus, all of those things that could possibly go wrong with the Guardians, it hasn't so far. And they remind me so much. When I was living in DC when the Nationals won, the Nationals were that team that they didn't have the most wins. I think they had around 80 wins. But at the end of the day, around September, October, they were one of the hottest teams in baseball.
Mhm.
I think that's where the Guardians are right now, is one of the hottest teams in baseball. You're starting to get, you're starting to get your pieces back. You got um, Savale back on what, Sunday?
Yeah, he's limited to 5 innings though.
That's fine. And then you're getting Plesac back on Friday, so all of your horses are coming back just in time for this playoff run, because it's gonna be one to watch. I'm curious to see who we get matched up with first. It's looking like Seattle, who had our number.
We
So
could face Tampa Bay possibly because Tampa Bay has a half game lead over Seattle in the wild card race.
well, if we face them too, that would
So
be
this series right now is important.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing who we are, who comes to Progressive. Who facing. What is it? 3 games now for the wild card.
Yes, it's three
So
games.
it'll be what Bieber, Tristan, and
Probably Cal.
Kyle. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see who they throw, whoever we face throw at that. So
And I believe Cal Quantrell is still undefeated at Progressive
it's never
Field.
lost a home game in 3 years.
Yeah,
Hasn't
which
lost a
is
home game since 2019, where it doesn't matter what team he plays for. Has not lost a home game in 3 years. That's insane.
just the craziest stat of like all time. Like I wonder where that ranks in baseball statistics for him. But it's just amazing, and the bats are being put to the balls too. One of the things is I was listening to somebody earlier, and they was like, the Indians might not be able to they might not be able to sustain this success over a 2 month period, and I think they can. They got hot at the right time, and they can continue to play. This is a team that believes in themselves, and they go out there and they know that they can compete. Obviously they had some struggles against the Yankees and the Astros, but guess who won both of their games pitching against them?
Interesting.
Yeah, Tristan won those games.
Yeah.
So, they can, get to, they can, I believe they can win against the Yankees and the Astros, and maybe one of the wild card teams can knock off the Yankees or Astros possibly, so we wouldn't even have to face them. But the way it's looking at the way they're playing, probably not, but anything is possible. Playoff baseball is very different, and every pitch counts. So we don't know what that's going to be looking like, but Stephen Kwan has been amazing. AL player of the week this week. He was batting like over 400 or something like that. Had the grand salami the other day on Sunday, and right now, he's one of the leaders on this team. You could never tell that this kid is a rookie. He plays like a veteran. So hats off to him. But also this team, when they get behind, they don't. It's like after like the seventh inning. I have to look at the stats, but this team is just incredible. With coming from behind. Obviously, you don't want to play from behind, but it's almost like this team is better when they play from behind. So it's something amazing, incredible. They're a fun team to watch. I watch them every night. Especially when they're on the road. Those games against the West Coast teams. Started late, and I was up late every night watching them. But they're just a fun team to watch. So I look at them having the opportunity to go deep, in this in the playoffs and surprise a lot of people because a lot of people don't have the Indians, going far at all. And we have to be honest, they haven't won a series since they won the American League division title in 2016. So do you think Tito is going to be able to put this team in a good place to be able to win their first series coming out the gate in the
Yeah,
wild card?
I think. I mean, he's done a good job this far. So
Hmm.
I have no reason to go against him. He's put
Hmm.
together one of the best bullpens. He's gotten some of the best out of some young players, young rookies. So I have nothing that says to challenge Tito besides his health. Is he gonna be there? That's the only thing. Will he himself be there?
Yeah, that was something I was about to mention. They're kind of playing for Tito as well because, his seasons are dwindling down. I was honestly surprised that he's came back because of the numerous health issues
I
that
think
he
he really
is.
wants to win one for Cleveland.
I think so too.
I think it's cool when they won for the Red Sox, but you know being the guy that was beat with who won, who stopped the curse with the Red Sox, stopped the World Series drought with the Guardians. It's a hell of a career. So that speaks a lot. So
He was so close in 2016. I still think he should have pitched Ryan Merritt. So that's one of the things I've not been able to ask him as of yet. Don't know if I ever going to ask him, but that's where my curiosity lies: is why didn't he pitch Ryan Merritt for a game in the World Series? Considering how well he did in the ALCS. So that's one of the things I'll probably never have answered. I don't know, but he is a brilliant manager, and he's got this team playing for each other and also playing for him really well. So I think it's amazing, and I'm looking forward to the Cleveland Guardians being able to have a deep postseason run, and this pitching staff with one of the best bullpens in the league. Be able to hold off batters and things of that nature. Brian Shaw is a little bit of a sticking point for us, but the majority of the bullpen gets it done. And obviously, you had the best closer in baseball with Emmanuel Clase, so season, I believe. So you get him a lead and he can close it out for you. So I think that they have a lot of pieces and parts and all the momentum, and they're the hottest team in the league right now to be able to go ahead and at least be able to make it out of the wild card. So I'm thinking that they'll be able to get past Seattle or Tampa Bay. This series is a good series to kind of gauge that measurement, because this is a team that you could be seeing again. I gave a score update. It is 0-0 at the bottom of the second inning. And we're going to go ahead, Marshawn, and take our last and final break. So we're going to be right back. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM, and we will be right back. All right. Welcome back to Her and the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here with Mr. Marshawn Powers. Marshawn, what's up with you, sir?
Nothing much, nothing much.
Yeah, man. How about that?
Mhm.
Yeah, so let's move on to some NCAA football really quickly. So your team, the Maryland Terrapins, came very close to knocking off DJ Cristal's Michigan Wolverines. Why couldn't y'all pull it off, man? What happened?
Because they, first of all, they called the interception that wasn't an interception. So that they was cheating there, but whatever. And then Michigan tried to take my quarterback out. So we're gonna let them have it. That Michigan obviously. I watched that game. Michigan is terrible this year. There's no way that game should have been close to Maryland. You gave Maryland a chance. We're gonna beat Michigan State this week, and Ohio State is going to destroy Michigan. There's no way Michigan should have been in that game. No way.
Well,
No
I'm
way.
sorry. I'm sorry that your team lost. I
That's
was,
fine. Hey, listen, we got the better quarterback. They just took him out. Michigan quarterback is terrible. I hope Chris Styles hear me because he knows that quarterback is terrible. That
you
quarterback. That
you can't
quarterback.
tell DJ Chris Styles
Hey,
nothing.
That quarterback had no accuracy. I could go and get one of Chris Styles' quarterbacks from John Marshall. Quarterback was terrible, terrible. But we lost, so it's fine. I'm not gonna sit here and make all the excuses in the world, but Michigan's not as advertised. I don't. It's two things I've been right so far about Chris Styles. Told me that I wasn't gonna be right on. I told him that Benedictine was going to get blew out by DeMatha. They didn't score. It was 38-0. And I told them Michigan was terrible, and they're terrible. So
Yeah, well, they almost lost to Maryland. So he was like, "What do you mean almost lost?" I was like, "Well, the
almost
score was
lost. Almost
I
lost.
mean, they won, but obviously there's going to be some Michigan bias and big school bias right there. So, it is what it is.
You,
But
you you only won by 7 to a team that's looked at from the outside looking in as one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. So that's
mhm.
giving them hope.
Yeah. Yeah, they can hang with the big dogs. But man, what do you think about Ohio State, man? They are cooking right now. They are, moving on all cylinders. I'm not, I'm just waiting on the matchup with Alabama at this point.
Nah, they're better than Alabama. I don't think Alabama has enough to play them. I'm
Really?
ready to see them versus Georgia. Alabama doesn't have. They don't have enough. They don't have a lead receiver this year. They don't have a Jamison Williams this year to make their quarterback look good. So unless one of the receivers step up, I think Alabama is. They'll make the playoffs, but I think it'll be Ohio State, Georgia in the national championship game. I think looks a little bit better than Alabama, which ain't saying much, but Ohio State is the best team in college football right now. They got the best offense. Defense isn't where it needs to be. They're still growing, they're still learning, but offensively, they're head and shoulders above both Alabama, Georgia, who else? Clemson, Michigan, who else in the top five? It's night and day.
Yeah, Clemson could barely beat Wake Forest. They needed overtime to be able to do that.
Exactly. Everybody brings up the fact that they struggled in their first game against Notre Dame, who prepared for that game for Lord knows how long, 6 months.
Yeah.
So um, no, Ohio State finally got it together, and they're doing all of this without Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's out with that. He's in and
hmm
out with that hamstring injury. So
Yeah, which is amazing. So one of their offensive threats, that can put points on the board, had an amazing game in the Rose Bowl against Utah, is out, but they're cooking. The running backs are doing great. Travion Henderson, I forgot who his backup was. He was cooking as well. It was just, usually Wisconsin can sometimes give Ohio State fits, but Ohio State has handled them pretty well. So they took care of them on Saturday. And as you know, I hate, sometimes being a human being because I was feeling a little sorry for Wisconsin. I'm like, man, maybe they need to score a little touchdown because they was getting a butts whooped. It was kind of pathetic, that game in the Big Ten championship where they beat Wisconsin 59-0. Wisconsin really hasn't posed too much of a threat, against us. But I see Ohio State rolling the rest of the season and crushing it. Excuse me, I'm sorry, got the hiccups. And crushing every team in the Big Ten. They face Rutgers this weekend, homecoming. So I definitely think that they'll blow Rutgers out. So I still question why Rutgers and Maryland are in the Big Ten. I know it was done because they want that New York revenue and, East Coast revenue and stuff like that. But, as I tell people as well, even though their football teams are terrible, maybe one day their football teams will become better by them playing in the Big Ten and there'd be a little bit more competition. But them being in the Big Ten affects other sports as well. So that are on the smaller scale. But I don't really see I don't see Ohio State losing to anybody in the Big Ten at all. Definitely not Michigan the way that they're rolling their offense is, and you can afford to have a not saying really you can afford to have a terrible defense, but the way their offense is cooking and rolling, it's almost like yeah, you can have a weak defense because Ohio State is going to outscore everybody anyway.
I mean, right now going into the Michigan game, I see them. They're their own worst enemy. If that makes sense to you, I see
Yeah,
they could be
absolutely.
so. Playing how they're playing offensively right now, defensively that's different. You gotta tighten up a little bit, but I think they do it. They do well enough offensively to keep this team afloat and be an undefeated team going into Michigan game, even the Big Ten tournament. I mean, Big Ten championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get out of here, let's talk about a little bit Cleveland Cavaliers. Yesterday was Cleveland Cavaliers Media Day. So you had all of the Cleveland Cavaliers out. They had their first official practice today. October 5th, they go to Philadelphia for their first preseason game. They got Donovan Mitchell off season, Spider Mitchell. What are your thoughts about this team as it gets closer to the season opening up and it finally being here? What are your thoughts about some of the additions that they had and their chances for success?
Um, I mean, everything that they've been coming out is kind of what I thought in my head. They're trying to figure out who's going. They got an open competition for the 3 spot. So it's not really guaranteed to one guy. Pretty much all the other spots in the starting lineup are already, kind of solidified. So once they figure out at the end of preseason who's the small forward is, that'll kind of give me a better understanding of how this team was. I feel like it should be Karis LeVert, but if they was to put Okoro out there, I would understand. If they was to put Larry, not I was about to say Larry, they was to put what's his name, man? Um, God, I can't think of his name. I was just thinking about this. The guy that from Penn State, freaking Lamar Stevens. If they was to throw Lamar Stevens out there, I would understand. So it's kind of feel like once they solidify the starting lineup, at the end of preseason, you'll have a better understanding. But I do have them. They should be able to win 45 games this year with no problem, as long as they stay healthy.
50.
50 is asking for too much.
They won 44 games last year. They
Yeah,
can win 5 more, and they should have won more games last year.
every
They
team got
can.
better, Rachel. You gotta
They,
realize it.
so did
Brooklyn,
the Cleveland Cavaliers.
they didn't, but no team has. Listen, Brooklyn gotten better. They got Ben Simmons who's healthy. They got Kyrie who's healthy. They got KD who's healthy, and they got pieces around it. The Cavs don't have that. They don't have generation. They don't have 2, 3 generational guys on one team. They got like 1 or 2. Who else? Philly's gonna be better. Philly's they got James. They got James Harden's old Rocket buddies to surround him. Um, who else? Milwaukee's gonna be better. They added Joe Ingles. They got uh, fruit. I forget his name. Freaking Giannis. They got Giannis and his running mate back healthy. So it's hard to just say that the Cavs are going to openly win 50 games when they're at best they're a top 3 team. They can be a top 3 team, but you're in a pool of 10, 11 teams, and you're all fighting to be a top 3 team. So
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell gives you a +5.
no,
We don't
Donovan,
gamble on.
listen, Donovan Mitchell is the reason why Jalen Brunson got paid. Donovan Mitchell is the reason why Jalen Brunson is looked at as a top 15 point guard, and he's not. So I think Donovan Mitchell solidifies 45. You gotta count in there. Some people gonna miss some games, Rachel. Some people going, how can I say this? It's in their contract to sit down for some games. So I think 45 is kind of what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I hope it's more. 44 was what we won last year, and then there should have been some games that we won as well, but we didn't. But
Still got a young.
that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. And hopefully this year they'll learn how to be able to pull some of those wins out. But we got to go, man. That's been our show. It's been a fun time. I appreciate you being here as always. Thank you so much, and Marshawn. For Marshawn and for me. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We are out of here.